Meanwhile, Democratic Congressman Benny Thompson facing backlash over attempts to deny President Trump Secret Service protection as the nation now reels from his assassination attempt. This is a staffer for Thompson is fired after posting on Facebook. This is the quote, "Don't miss next time," just after the shooting. You believe this? New York Congressman Lee Zeldin was once attacked on a campaign trail by a guy in 2022. He joins us now. It's not new to you, violence. A shot at the president we haven't had since 1981. Your thoughts about Benny Thompson and his staffer?
He was wrong to pursue this push to get rid of the Secret Service protection in the first place, and sets a culture inside of his staff. And for anyone who follows him out there across America, when you see one of these staffers criticizing that the assassination attempt wasn't successful, that starts at the top. So Benny Thompson bears his own responsibility. He was wrong for this push in the first place. And what is first and foremost in this country is that we are able to settle our scores at the ballot box. I am tired of continuing to see Republicans attack Steve Scalise shot, Brett Kavanaugh. They went after Rand Paul. The instant you just referenced what happened with me in July 2022, but more importantly, what we just witnessed Saturday, this assassination attempt on President Trump. And every single time the push is, okay, Republicans and Democrats all need to talk about this universal truth that we settle our score at the ballot box. I agree with that. I'll say it. But the fact is this. If that was Joe Biden who was on the receiving end of that, and I would never wish that in a million years, the left would be wanting President Trump to be indicted as if he was the one who pulled the trigger. And they would be saying this is all President Trump's fault. Now, here we are because President Trump was the one that's attacked. There are actually some people who want to blame President Trump as if he had it coming. It's sick. Yes, we should. I want us to unite. Always. We should bring the temperature down. Absolutely. But I think that there needs to be a check, too, because this keeps happening to Republicans, and every time we say Republicans and Democrats should all unite. If it happened to Joe Biden, I mean, there'd be a push today to be having a grand jury to indict President Trump.
And I think we both agree we'd love a big reset. Let's start debating policies, not personalities. It'll bring the collective temperature down. So I want to bring up this because we haven't talked about Joe Biden and his political future, but it looks like there's been 24 lawmakers, according to Politico, who we can go ahead and see this headline. They want Joe Biden to say, have an open convention. Here it is. President Biden would best be served the nation he loves by releasing the convention delegates who are pledged to nominate him for a second term. His decision to do so would mean an open convention in August. So I think that he settled the ship over the last few days and now with this horrible event on Saturday, but it doesn't look like it.
Now, there are a lot of Democrats who understand that this is a very weak, flawed candidate who isn't just a weak candidate to be president, but will have down-ballot impacts that will very likely cost them the Senate. It could cost them the House. There are people who, if they had a strong top of the ticket, might be successful, but he's going to be tanking the Democratic ticket. He's going to be tanking the Democratic brand. And you can't count on him to become sharper between now and November 5th, to become more alert. What's probably going to happen is that he's going to continue to have these blunders, like on Friday, which feels like a lifetime ago, when he was referring to President Zelensky as President Putin, when he was referring to Vice President Harris as Vice President Trump, when he was talking about taking orders from his commander-in-chief. That was on the world stage, hosting NATO 3 times in one day. Yeah, that was Friday. But today's a new day, it's a new week, and there's probably a new blunder to come.
And by the way, that's a dramatic event also, naming a running mate. The president could be doing that as soon as tonight, the former president and Donald Trump. But his attitude since has been fantastic, toning down the speeches. The one thing the Trump campaign is concerned about, can we make sure there's not very fiery speeches being what happened after Saturday? And hopefully we get to hear from Lee Zeldin at some point.
Yeah, no, I'll be speaking. I'm looking forward to it. And I will say this, it is important to talk substance and contrast.
Yeah.
And there are people who have passion about it and they have fight. Right. So I hope that this convention has that opportunity too.
Always great to see you.
Great to see you, Brian.
Congressman from New York, over in Milwaukee.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.